Welcome to Live from Size Lounge, weekly conversations with alumni of Iowa State University. At the ISU Alumni Association, we strive to facilitate the lifetime connection of Cyclones everywhere, communicating, connecting, and celebrating Cyclone pride. This series is made possible thanks to the more than 43,000 members of the Alumni Association. If you are interested in staying connected to the university and receiving all the benefits and services of being a member, visit isualum.org to learn more.
Good afternoon and welcome into Live from Size Lounge. My name is Matt Van Winkle with the ISU Alumni Association. Clearly, I am not in Size Lounge at the Alumni Center today. I am here in my home office, but somebody who is there is Heather Botine. Hi, Heather.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for coming on with us.
Absolutely. My pleasure to be here with you.
Heather is our Director of Travel and Merchandise for the Alumni Association. And Heather, we've got some really cool items to show people today that are available in our alumni online member store. Tell us about the Iowa State YEP solar lights that you've got there with you.
Well, you bet, Matt. I don't know how you're feeling, but I am feeling fall this week because the weather has gotten a little cooler in Iowa. So I'm thinking about getting my yard ready for some home gating, of course, because we're not tailgating this year. We're going to cheer on the Cyclone fans, either the Cyclone football team, either from in the stadium or from at home, but we're definitely tailgating at home. So these first lights, these are so awesome. They're made locally in Iowa, in Cedar Falls, Iowa. They're made out of heavy steel tubing. They come powder coated finished, and they're for your outside. You can see that nice photo you have there now, Matt. They are solar lights. So the company is called Yard Engineered Products, or YEP for short. And these are the YEP lights. The red retails for $119.99 and the black retails for $99.99. I also brought with me my Cyclones Everywhere flag because everybody needs one of these hanging in their yard to let everyone know they're a Cyclone fan. This is a 3x5 flag that hangs outside on a long pole, and it retails for $26.99. And then this is a new product that is, by the way, all the these items can be found online at the website that you have showing there. Perfect, Matt. You're always on top of things. So this is the other thing that I'm going to put in my yard. It's a small yard flag. Oops, I got to go this way. Cute, so super cute with Cy on it, two-sided. So you can see it both front and back, waving in the air. Retails for $13.99 for the flag, and if you need the garden stake, another $13.99 for that. So,
I think I might need to get that Cyclones Everywhere flag behind me. Need a nice backdrop if I'm going to be at home. But
absolutely. Well, I can get you one of those, so you just let me know.
That sounds perfect. All right. Thanks, Heather, for showing us these items. And again, just as a reminder to people, members of the Alumni Association get 15% off every day, plus no sales tax on all merchandise and apparel orders, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
All right. Well, thanks, Heather, for joining us. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, everybody.
All right. That is Heather Botine. We are excited, though, today to welcome Sean McLaughlin as our guest, a 1988 graduate of Iowa State with a degree in journalism. Sean quickly made a name for himself in broadcasting when he became the chief meteorologist for MSNBC, joining the network in July of 2004. He was also the meteorologist on the Sunday editions of NBC's The Today Show and contributed to NBC Weather Plus, NBC Nightly News, and other NBC programs. He also has the distinction of doing weather on 2 network morning broadcasts, filling in often on The Early Show on CBS. Sean now lives in Phoenix, Arizona, where he's the weeknight news and weather anchor for 3TV and CBS 5. He's covered multiple Olympic Games, Super Bowls, and is now a 10-time Emmy winner. Please welcome Sean McLaughlin to Live from Size Lounge. Hey, Sean.
Hey, Matt. Great to see you. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for coming on with us. I know we're at a little bit of a different time zone here. You're out in Arizona. We're here in Iowa, so.
And tell Heather it's definitely not fall here in Arizona. Today's high 112. 112. So we got plenty of sun for those solar lights, believe me, out here in Phoenix.
That's incredible. 112. Wow. So I don't know if you've been following the news much in Iowa, but a few weeks back we had the derecho sweep through the state. Kind of an interesting term in a kind of a storm that a lot of us hadn't really heard of. Obviously, tornadoes out here, but it was really those hurricane winds that we faced and a lot of damage and power outages. Did you kind of follow that along?
I absolutely followed that along. And it was actually thanks to some of my social media friends from Iowa that kept that story alive. They kept tagging me in posts saying, look, Sean, we're not getting the national attention. Remember the news cycle when that derecho happened the day after Vice President Joe Biden picked his running mate. So the national news was very focused on that. The national news was very focused on the comings and goings of the United States Postal Service and funding for that. So there was Iowa friends literally reaching out to me to say, look, Sean, we've got to keep this in the news cycle. And I reached out to a couple of my old producer friends at MSNBC and said, hey, guys, this is like an inland hurricane that hit in the Midwest that no one is paying attention to. And thankfully, they made some phone calls. MSNBC did a piece on it, and then that grew to an NBC nightly news piece. And then that ultimately led to the president making that disaster declaration and releasing those federal funds. So that's a great power of social media moment. I'm not certainly taking credit for keeping the story alive, but I think the people of Iowa should take credit that social media and reaching out.
Absolutely. We lost your connection there for a second, but I caught the gist of it. I think you were saying, social media is really powerful, really helped get that message across. And I know you're very active on social media as well. I've seen your following. You really stay connected with your followers there in Arizona.
It's just part of the job now. I mean, our broadcast business, Matt, as you know, you're a recent graduate. I'm an old graduate. I mean, this business, Matt, just within the last 5 years has changed completely. I mean, we just had to kind of come in and work community service, but then we just had to focus on our on-air product, on our nightly newscasts, and that was kind of our only deadline. Now, our viewers and our consumers of our products don't just sit down and wait for the 6 o'clock news. They want what's happening right now. So I have to be active, and all my other fellow journalists have to be active almost 24/7. Now you say, how do you do that? Well, you just stay on top of it, and you schedule posts, and you retweet things that that your viewers are going to be interested in, and then are going to look to you for either local context or local coverage.
Has this been one of the most news-filled years that you've been a part of in your career?
When I heard you read my bio and said that I'm a 1988 graduate of Greenlee School of Journalism, I mean, it seems like it was yesterday when I graduated, and the growth that I've had since graduating has been tremendous for me personally and professionally. But I have never, in my past 32 years, I've never, ever been in a news cycle that has been this continuous and this long. I mean, think of where we've come from. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, the nation shuts down. We all of a sudden start dealing with a global pandemic. Then we transition into having all of our family members home, having our schools or having our children being taught school online. Then we transition into the month of June, civil unrest across the nation. And then we transition into the political upheaval, and it just keeps going on and on and on. And I've never been associated with a year like this. The only thing I can compare professionally was in 2005 when we had a record-breaking hurricane season, and we were having back-to-back hurricanes, and of course Hurricane Katrina there on August 29th.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned 1988. Let's jump back to your time as a student here at Iowa State. What sort of drew you to studying broadcast journalism? What kind of piqued your interest in that field?
I don't know. Was it the C- or D that I was getting in calculus as a freshman? That might have been something to do with it. But, Matt, and this is what makes Iowa State really special. I remember sitting at one of the trees, at the base of the tree near the campanile, and literally after getting that grade. And I'm thinking to myself, I am not cut out to be a business school graduate. I'm just not. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching people walking across campus, and I'm listening to the campanile, and I'm thinking, I know that there's a place for me here. And I went home and I actually saw Iowa State's broadcast, and back then it was called R31, and it was students doing the news. And I sat to myself and I thought, well, wait a minute. I was a high school yearbook editor. I wrote for my school paper. I actually had a job at a local radio station my senior year on the weekends. That's it. And I had an epiphany sitting under that tree, watching that cable channel when I got home to my fraternity house, and I knew I had found a home. And the next day I walked to my advisor and switched.
So where did meteorology kind of fit in there? Obviously, when you were here, were you studying more the journalism side, or did you get involved with meteorology when you were a student here?
So I got involved once I switched my major and started taking all the writing classes, the broadcast classes. My advisor said, hey, you should really take a meteorology course just to kind of give yourself a well-rounded background. And I took Intro to Meteorology there at Iowa State, and I was hooked. I thought this was fascinating. This is something that changes every single day. And I then did fill-in weather for R31. I also did sports. I mean, we did it all back then. We ran the cameras. We were the producers, editors. I mean, that was what was so great about my Iowa State education, is that in all facets, in all majors, I think the professors on campus realize that you have to educate the whole person, professionally and personally. And you have to expose those students to as many different facets of your career that you could run into. And my advisor, Tom Beal, he had the foresight to say, you need to look at politics. So he made me take some political sci courses. You need to look at weather, and you need to have a foundation as a really good writer. And so when I took that Intro to Meteorology course, and when I filled in for weather at R31, when I ultimately got my first paying job and I was a reporter, our weather anchor got promoted to the news anchor position. And I had the guts or the courage to go into my general manager and said, hey, I've actually done weather at Iowa State. Let me try out for that job. And I got it.
So I'm a broadcast journalism major as well. And I'll just tell you, now there is a dedicated class that you can take where you are part of that involvement. You're part of the student-run TV station, and you have to do all these different stations, and one of those is weather. So if you take that class, the students still have to go up and do weather, and I had to do that, and I filled in. I was the sports guy when I was a student, but I did have to fill in on weather a few times, which I really enjoyed. I had no idea what I was talking about. You kind of just make things up as you go. Don't forget to bring that umbrella. Don't forget to pack your coat when you head out for class. But you get those typical sayings. But it was a lot of fun, and you definitely learned a lot. Sean, what did you learn here as a student that helped you the most in your career, though?
I think when I was at it was small enough, like you said. Hear me, Matt? Do you still have me there, Matt? I think my screen froze.
We have you. It's a little choppy. Keep talking though. I think I got you back now. All right. I think we're having a little bit of connection.
Kids at home online at the same time.
Of course. Absolutely. Hey, well, why don't you try and reconnect it?
All right. Are we good, Matt?
I can hear you. Yep. The video's a little choppy, but I think we still got you. All right. I think Sean, if you can hear me, try and reconnect. Okay. All right. We'll drop you off here and then try and reconnect. Okay.
What was great about Iowa State is like you said, learning all of those different things.
All right. All right, Sean, I'm going to remove you from the broadcast and try and rejoin us. We'll see if we can get a better connection, okay? Well, while we have Sean trying to rejoin us here, we want to remind you of our upcoming broadcast. We will have former Iowa State Olympian, All-American, Lisa Ewell be joining us next week. She is now a graduate of Iowa State College of Veterinary Medicine. She is a resident veterinarian at Colorado State University. We were supposed to have Lisa a few weeks back, and we had to push this one to next week. So we are excited to talk with Lisa Ewell next week, and hope you can join us for that broadcast. If you've missed any of our previous broadcasts, we've been doing these broadcasts throughout the last few months, really, as we've kind of been forced to move to home, socially distance, and not able to do these interviews in person. We've really been able to connect with our alumni and doing these interviews with our alumni remotely. So I think we got Sean back. Let's see if we can bring him back on. Hey, are you back?
Here, I'm here.
We're back. All right. We were just plugging our upcoming guest for next week. It's Lisa Ewell. I don't know if you know her. She's a former Iowa State Olympian, All-American, and an Olympic runner. So she is going to be joining us next week. You don't have quite those credentials, but you do have some pretty nice credentials. See, you are one of the few, as I mentioned in your introduction, you've worked for NBC and CBS. Talk about how you kind of fell into that and your experiences there.
Well, I was 12 years at the local NBC affiliate here in Phoenix. So I had some contacts within the network. They had me fill in on a weekend weather for the Today Show a couple of years before I went to the network. So they were familiar with me and my work. And once my final contract was finished, we started pressing to make the jump full time. And that's when MSNBC was reorganizing, creating more of a day-side news aspect of their coverage. This was before they went political 24/7. And we covered news every day side until we got to the opinionated shows at night. And they were looking for a meteorologist. They knew my work from filling in on the Weekend Today Show. And I made that leap in 2004. So I worked Monday through Friday for MSNBC. And then every Sunday, I was the weather anchor with Campbell Brown and Lester Holt on the Weekend Sunday Today Show. But I actually filled in a heck of a lot for Al Roker 91 times over the 2.5 year total that I was out there, a little less than 2.5 years. As you're seeing on the screen, this was one of my career, I think, achievements was when I was covering the landfall of Hurricane Katrina, and we had that devastating and deadly storm surge, and I jumped onto that scissor lift and put myself 25 feet in the air to kind of visualize how bad the storm surge was going to be. That's my daughter Mia, that I didn't see an awful lot in her first year of life, or the first 2 years of her life. She used to watch me on TV and thought that I lived the TV.
That's a great story. So that's kind of cool that you really got to work closely with Lester Holt, who's now, the anchor of nightly news on NBC. Do you still stay in touch with Lester Holt at all?
We do. We trade emails, and he was just honored with the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism Cronkite Award. And when he was out here in Phoenix to accept it on behalf of ASU, him and I got together for a few minutes and caught up. So he's a tremendous professional, and he deserves all the accolades that he has received. He's a great journalist.
What kind of advice would you give somebody who is wanting to work and get to where you got to be at that network TV level? What kind of advice would you have for students now?
Kind of back to what we were talking about, how Iowa State is such a special place because the professors believe in the most well-rounded education. Learn as much as you can when you're on campus. Do as many internships as you can when you're on campus. And it'll eventually lead to great things. Look at how deeply involved you are with the visual content on social media. That's the wave of the future. And if you have that skill set, you're going to go places.
So we're looking at some photos of you right now in the field. What has really this past year been like covering, as we mentioned early on, the pandemic, a lot of the social unrest. You guys, I'm sure, in your newsroom have had to change things up. Not as close to people. I'm sure the way your set up is a lot differently. How have you guys kind of adjusted to the pandemic and covering these stories that we've really never seen before?
First of all, I'm working with a lot less people. There is maybe a third of our entire crew in the newsroom at the same time. I was deemed one of the essential anchors that I've only had to work from home 1 week. We've had over half of our anchor staff still working from home. They haven't even been inside our newsroom since March. They wanted me inside the newsroom because I can do both news and weather, and all of our weather anchors still working remotely. And a couple of times that connection has gone bad, like our connection has today.
Sure.
And I've had to jump in and ag weather. So there's plexiglass everywhere. We have to wear masks. We can't socialize in the commissaries or anything like that. It's like what everyone else is experiencing. It's a whole new normal.
Well, we got a question that came in on Instagram yesterday from Sam. Sam wants to know, what do you find most fascinating about weather and climate studies?
I think it's fascinating based on the effect that our growing population is having on the climate. Now, you can go down that rabbit hole, and there's a lot of for and against that argument. I simply believe, we are having an impact. We have just experienced our hottest summer ever here in Phoenix. We had the hottest July ever, and we've had the hottest August ever. So people are looking for those facts, and they're looking for what that means for them and how they can make a difference. So whether is that it changes every single day. You got to make it interesting and exciting here in Arizona when it's sunny and warm all the time. But then you can have a chance to educate your audience on the changing climate.
Sure. Seeing Iowa State graduates are using their degrees to make their communities a better place all over the world. How have you been able to use your degree to make an impact?
I think I've been able to make an impact based on my degree from Iowa State is because those professors not only instill having a well-rounded education, but Professor Kuhn and Tom Beal, they were also big about, if you're going to be a credible journalist, you have to be in the community. You have to be seen off the TV, off the radio, off the newspaper byline. They were true advocates of getting involved in your community. And that's kind of rare at, public universities, maybe private universities, but public universities, that community involvement. And that has been the key, I feel, to my success. That installation or that instilling that spirit of, if you're into the community, will reward you back. And I think that's what's special, and that's what's really helped me by being a graduate from Iowa State. And I think all Iowa State grads have that. Every time I meet an Iowa State grad, they talk more about their life experiences rather than their professional experiences. And I think that's a key element of the core of who an Iowa Stater really is.
And lastly, you are a life member of the Alumni Association. So out in Arizona, what do you enjoy most about being a life member all the way out, kind of on the West Coast in Phoenix, Arizona? What do you enjoy most about being a member of the association here?
That I don't have to keep taking my calls from Jeff Johnson saying become a life member. No, I think it's that network. It's that networking opportunity, right? Being a life member, you are networked with some of the top professionals in any field. And what I would suggest, and if you have the means to do it, is as soon as you graduate, become a life member, because that connection to this community, regardless if you stay in Iowa or if you're 10,000 miles away from me, you have an instant friend or you have an professional colleague when you become a life member. And you can share that spirit, not only in your professional life, but in your personal life. And I think that makes you a better person when you are well-rounded. You can't just be career-oriented all the time. You have to have a good life balance. And being a lifetime member of the Alumni Association and participating in those events and networking with your fellow Cyclones gets you to be that better person.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, thanks for joining us. Thank you so much for your support of the Alumni Association of Iowa State. Stay cool out there, okay? I know you said it's above 100 degrees, but stay cool and keep cheering on the Cyclones all the way out in Arizona, okay? Oh, there you go. He's got the hat. I got to put mine on.
You got it.
All right. Thanks so much, Sean.
There you go, Matt.
All right.
Thank you. Have a great time.
Thanks.
Have a great day. Stay cool back there.
All right. Thanks. You too. All right. That is Sean McLaughlin. But before we go, we just want to remind you one more time that we'll see you back here next Wednesday at noon, as we'll be joined by former Iowa State Hall of Famer and Olympic runner Lisa Ewell. Lisa recently graduated from Iowa State College of Veterinary Medicine. She's now a resident veterinarian at Colorado State. We are excited to chat with Lisa and hope you can join us next week. And that's it from Size Lounge this week. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your day. Go Cyclones.